Let's do question 35. And here we have the curve equation y equals x minus x squared. And the graph of this curve is also shown in this diagram. And we have to find the area of the shaded region. The shaded region is basically the area under the curve y equals x minus x squared. So recall that the area under the curve of f of x or y, and this is given by integral from a to b, where a is the lower limit of the curve and b is the upper limit of the curve, and this is y times of dx. So let's replace this formula. So the lower limit of this curve is a equal to 0 here, and the upper limit which is already given, that is b equals 1 here. So when we use the formula, we write down this integral as this is from 0 to 1, and we replace y by this equation, the curve equation, that is x minus x squared. We have to integrate this, and then we put this dx. So let's integrate this and evaluate this integral by using the limits. So first, this can be integrated as two separate integrals, that is from 0 to 1 of x dx minus integral from 0 to 1 of x squared dx. Now we will integrate the first one. We have to use the power rule. That is, if we have integral x raised to the power of n, the formula is x raised to the power of n plus 1 divided by n plus 1. So if we observe the first integral, the power of x is 1, is basically 1. So we can consider n equal to 1, and when we use this formula, we put x raised to the power of 1 plus 1 divided by 1 plus 1, and this has to be evaluated from the 0 to 1. Now let's integrate the second one using the similar power rule. So here n equal to 2. So when I use the formula, it becomes 2 plus 1, that is x raised to the power of 2 plus 1 divided by the same number 2 plus 1, and this has to be evaluated from 0 to 1. So it's basically we have to evaluate these two values. So this equals, let me simplify this, x raised to the power of 2 or x squared divided by 2, and this is from 0 to 1 minus, and this is x cube divided by 3, and this has to be evaluated from 0 to 1. So let me continue and evaluate this. Now I'm going to evaluate the first one by applying the limits. First, I apply the upper limit. That is, in place of x, I have to replace by 1. So therefore, this becomes 1 squared by 2. Now I apply the lower limit. That is 0 squared by 2. Now let me evaluate this integral. So once again, I apply the upper limit. So it becomes 1 cube divided by 3, minus when you put the lower limit in place of x, it becomes 0 cube divided by 3. So let's evaluate this. 1 squared is 1, so it is 1 by 2, and this is 0, and here this is also 0. So here we have 1 by 2 and minus, and this is 1 cube is 1, so it is 1 by 3. So it's basically we have to simplify this fraction. We can see that the common denominator is 6. So the first fraction we can multiply and divide by 3, and the second fraction we can multiply and divide by 2. So the first fraction becomes 3 6, and the second fraction becomes 2 6. Now we have the common denominator, so we can simplify this. So this equals 3 minus 2 divided by 6, and this equals 1/6. This is 6. So this is the area under the curve of the given equation, that is 1/6. Let's do question 36. So here we find the area of the shaded region under the curve of y equals 1 by x squared. And once again, we use this area formula. So we write area equals, we put the limits first. This is a, that is the lower limit, and b equals 2, which is the upper limit. So I put 1 for lower limit and 2 for upper limit, and then we replace the y by the equation. That is y equals 1 by x squared. So basically we have to evaluate this definite integral. So let's do this. So I put this 1 to 2, and I can rewrite this 1 by x squared as x raised to the power of minus 2. So let me write this in this form so that I can use the formula. So once again, if we use the power rule of integration, we can rewrite this as or else the if we integrate x raised to the power of negative 2, we write this as x raised to the power of negative 2 plus 1 divided by the same number, that is negative 2 plus 1, and this has to be evaluated with from the limits, that is from 1 to 2. So I put 1 and 2 is the upper bound. Let's evaluate this integral. This is x raised to the power of negative 1 divided by minus 2 plus 1 is negative 1. From the limits 1 to 2, can rewrite and evaluate this. Uh, we see that x raised to the power of minus 1, we can rewrite this as 1 over x. Since we already have negative 1 in the denominator, we can say this equals negative 1 over x. We have to evaluate from 1 to 2. Now we can apply the limits. So I put negative 1 by, now I replace the upper limit, that is x replaced by 2. So it becomes negative of 1 by 2. We put this negative, and already we have negative 1 by x. Now we put x equal to 1. So therefore this becomes negative 1 by 1. Let's simplify this. This equals negative 1 by 2, and negative of negative is a positive number. 1 by 1 is 1, so it is negative 1 by 2 plus 1. This is basically 1 minus of half, and this equals half. So this is the area of the curve, or the area under the curve, as well as this is the area of the shaded region.